Hey, this is Ago, and in this short video, I want to talk about 6 situations where you don't want to build a sales relationship. 6 situations where you don't want to build a long-term, deep, strong relationship with your prospect or client or whoever you're selling to. Now, this may sound counterintuitive because a lot of my clients in high-end technology, financial, and professional services feel like building strong, lasting client and customer relationship is a holy grail. It's the key to business growth and success and longevity and long-term performance. And in a nutshell, they're right. But there are some exceptions in situations where you do not want to invest all of the time, effort, and resources required to build a strong, long-term relationship with your client. The first of those situations is where your client is essentially transaction-focused. Especially in financial services, firms between each other tend to operate on a deal-to-deal basis. And I've heard one senior broker say something along the lines of, the way I build a long-term relationship with my client is through a succession of short-term ones. But each deal is looked at as an individual deal and assessed on its own merit. There's no point in investing a lot of time in building the relationship and wining and dining people because at the essence, all they care about is the financial return. And that's really different from one deal to the next. If your client's extremely transaction focused, you may not want to invest, again, all that time and all those resources into building a long-term sales relationship. The second situation where you don't want to invest it all that time is when your client is essentially unresponsive. Let's face it, some clients don't want to build a long-term relationship. They'll keep looking at you as a vendor, they'll be unresponsive, they'll be not in tune with your needs. And in order to build a relationship, you really need it to come from 2 fronts. You really need it to come from both sides, not just one. The third situation where you don't want to build a long-term relationship is when your client is cheap. And when I say cheap, I really mean cheap. I don't mean cost-effective or budget-oriented, because many firms these days are, but I mean cheap. If your client continues to want to buy things for pennies on the dollar, chances are you're never going to build a long-term profitable relationship. And I see a lot of sellers make this mistake. They'll cut down on price, they'll take a loss in the beginning, hoping that they'll make up for it in the long-term relationship. And unfortunately, that hardly ever happens. Another situation where you don't want to focus on that long-term relationship is when your client is irrational. Sometimes clients just make irrational decisions. And I've seen this happen, unfortunately, more than once. I've seen senior executives make decisions against their entire team, against the advice of those closest to them, and still push forward on a deal. Still prefer one vendor over another, even though it was clear it wasn't the right vendor. If clients operate under an irrational basis, you don't want to invest all that effort and all that energy. And in the final 2 situations where you don't want to invest in long-term relationships are when your client is overly demanding. Some clients continue to push scope, they continue to want you more. You give them a finger, they want the hand. You give them a hand, they want the arm. You give them the arm, they want the whole body, I guess. And those are not great clients to have. And then finally, when a client is indecisive. Some clients waver. They go back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And it's difficult to sell to them now. Why would that ever change into the future? So 6 situations where you don't want to focus on building a long-term relationship, where you don't want to invest all that time, resources, energy, money, people into building strong, long-lasting relationships. Number 1, where your client's essentially transaction focused. Number 2, when your client is unresponsive. Number 3, when they are cheap. 4, when they're irrational in their decision-making process. Number 5, when they're overly demanding. And number 6, when they're indecisive. I hope that's 6. Yes. If you watched this video, if you liked it, I'll see you on the next one. Sign up for my YouTube channel, as always, for practical, tangible tips to help you sell more, to help you be more successful at generating and developing new business. This was Ago. I'll see you on the next one.